Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Monday, and all of our guests today, including Craig Button, standing by, are sponsored by Basant Motors. The return of the show means Basant Motors is also getting ready to give away their scholarship, and this year it's up to $34,000. If you know a graduating high school senior, get them to check out the details at Basant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. As we're joined now, a day early, by TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. Craig, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me a day early. I got to travel tomorrow, so Ryan Henderson and you and Rick were very gracious in allowing me on Monday.
No problem, Craig. We're going to start this off, if you don't mind, on a sad note. Ed Giacomin, Rangers great. His number one has been retired by the Rangers, has left us, has passed away at the age of 86. Your memories of Hall of Famer Ed Giacomin?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me with Eddie was the fact that how technically sound he was. And he was we look back at that era of goaltenders. There was a lot of smaller goaltenders at that time. You think of Gump Worsley, you think of Rogie Vachon. Well, Eddie Giacomin was like a statuesque goaltender, stood up, really technically sound. And you start to think about some of the goaltenders that were, when you think about the New York Rangers, you think about Eddie Giacomin, you think about John Davidson, you think about Mike Richter, you think about Henrik Lundqvist, and now Igor Shesterkin. I mean, it's almost like they were cut from similar molds. Yeah. But when you think about that lineage of great goaltenders that have come through the New York Rangers organization for over half a century, beyond impressive. And Ed Giacomin was a top goaltender in the league for a lot of years on some really good teams.
Vezina with Gilles Villemur back in 1971. Hey, Craig, a tough turn. We're going to take it. And by the way, you're not supposed to mention the name Mike Richter to a Vancouver audience. So just so you know, for future reference.
Is that because he stopped Pavel Bure on the penalty shot?
Yeah. Well, everything that happened with Mike Richter and the Canucks in '94, you can lump it all into one. Hey, Canucks versus Kraken prospect showcase over the weekend in Washington State. Canucks 2023 fourth rounder Vilmer Arvidsson was very impressive, especially on Saturday. Scored a very nice goal. What do you think's in his future?
I mean, first of all, you're looking at a big player, and I think we talked about this last year. Those players, you have to allow their coordination to take place. You have to let them get their legs underneath them, so to speak. And he's always been a good thinker in the game. He's always had good hands in the game. Now it's trying to get that physical maturity to catch up with the length that he has, and that sometimes takes a little bit longer than a shorter period of time with smaller players. But when you can think and you can handle the puck, and there's been a steady progression in that physical maturity, which has helped him become a better skater, which has helped him become more assertive. And now when he imposes himself on opponents with that size, he becomes a very, very difficult player to handle. So when you're looking at a prospect drafted at that point in the draft and you see the steady progression, there can only be smiles on the Vancouver Canucks scouting staff spaces, because this is the type of player when we talk about taking a chance on somebody that you feel has something. I think he's a great example of that.
Hey, Craig, Quentin Hughes still got 2 years to decide if he's going to sign in Vancouver. Of course, everyone's panicking already. You know that it's Vancouver. What about McDavid? He hasn't signed in Edmonton. Kaprizov hasn't signed in Minnesota. What about these guys not signing? How concerned are you?
Well, one of the things, Rick, obviously those markets, Minnesota, Vancouver, Edmonton, might have a little bit greater concern. I mean, we got a year with Kaprizov, a year with McDavid, obviously two with Quinn Hughes. One of the things that I think that a lot of players are watching, these players are going to be benchmarks, in my view. Yeah. They're going to be benchmarks, not just for what they ultimately decide, what turn they decide, or if they decide to walk. Because I believe that if one, two, all three of those players decide that they're going to free agency, the free agent market is going to explode like we've never seen in the NHL. We're going to see players go, no, I'll play it out, because, we see the cap going up, and we see teams that are now looking to have to spend more money to even be at the floor. So, like I said, if any number of these players, if all three of them go, I think there'll be an explosion in the free agent market, and teams might very well have to assess how they give out no move contracts or no trade contracts early on in a player's career. Because if you're signed, let's say you're signing Kaprizov and he wants to sign for 9.5, the current contract he has. Yeah, you're getting 9.5, but we're not giving you a no trade because we don't want to be left vulnerable. So I think it works. It cuts both ways, but that's what I see right now. And of course, there'll be no lack of discussion, speculation, rumors that will abound surrounding these three players.
All right, training camp start this week. Craig, get ready. It's around the corner. What Canadian team in the offseason made the most improvement in your eyes out of all of them?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I like what Edmonton did. I like the fact that they're opening up some room for Matty Savoy, and I just saw him play yesterday in a prospects game. He was head and shoulders the best player in the game. They traded for Isaac Howard. They're trying to get more offense around Draisaitl in that top part of their lineup. I think that's really, really positive for them, and we'll see how it shakes out. I also believe that the Vancouver Canucks getting some stability in their lineup. Demko, back healthy, is only going to help. We saw what Lankin can do. Besser coming back, committing to that. Connor Garland committing. I think that's going to help the Vancouver Canucks. There was so much drama around the team last year that it took away from their objectives. And I don't think anybody would argue with that. The Winnipeg Jets are they're not as good a team as they were last year. They lose Nikolai Ehlers. That's significant. And Montreal Canadiens are very much a team that's trying to grow. I don't know if they did anything significant. Adding Noah Dobson's pretty important. Ottawa and Toronto, I don't really see what they've done to improve their team. I think Toronto's become the weakest after the end of last season than any of the other 7 Canadian teams. We know where Calgary's at, but I would put Edmonton and Vancouver at the top, followed by the Montreal Canadiens, because Noah Dobson's that good a player.
Yeah. Hey, Craig, back to what the Canucks and Kraken were up to on the weekend. Berkeley Catton played one game, the Saturday game, and he was very, very impressive, much like Vilmer Arliksson. Reportedly the best player on the ice on Saturday. Big numbers with Spokane. 8th overall draft pick a couple of years ago. What's in his future?
Yeah, I think he's a terrific player. He's got a motor that revs at high RPMs. He plays the game completely in every single regard. He's an excellent penalty killer. He's obviously, the numbers offensively speak for themselves. But one of the things I watch with young players, and there's going to be a lot of that physical development when you watch younger players. I had never seen Berkeley Catton pushed out of a game. He might not have been strong enough to hold his own, but he was never pushed out of a game because of a lack of will, from a lack of, I'm going to dial in. I call it being wired. I think he's wired. He's wired to win. He's wired to do whatever it takes to help your team win. I think if he's available for Team Canada at the World Junior, I have no question in my mind he'll be the captain. But he very well may be ready for the NHL, because he's not only just a highly competitive player, he's a highly skilled player and a very smart player. And I think you combine all those things together, and a team that needs offense, Berkeley Catton very well may be starting the year in Seattle.
Do you mind me asking where you're headed? Is it on assignment?
I'm going to Toronto. We're going to do a draft preview show. With a little bit, obviously Bob McKenzie has done it for years. He's got no equal. He's got nobody even close to him as a second. But we're going to just try to give a glimpse of what the top half of the first round at this early point of the season will look like. Frankie Corrado and I are going to work together on it. And on the show, you talk to different people, and obviously I'm out there watching the players, so we get a lot of insights. And we're just going to do that. We're going to tape that show on Wednesday morning for showing later on that day and later on in the evening.
There's your show right there. Take it to the bank.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll make sure to mention it.
Okay. All right. Done deal. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Craig.